Look, I'm Robin Hood. Hi, Pagan Shooter back. I wanted to come back and talk about the Sas Rage that I had picked up last season. I had a few things that I had gone out this year already to kind of get back into the swing of it and see how it was working out for me. And, you know, the family wanted to get out and do some archery. And I wanted to come back and touch on a few things that I noticed about it and how I feel about it now after I've used it for a season. And I've tried it again after it's been in storage. And I kind of wanted to touch on a few things. First off, I do still have it. I was able to get it so it's fully extended now. I was able to work up the strength for that. I'm still working on getting the draw strength worked out. So I'm not a professional when it comes to archery. I know very little about it. When it comes to archery, my wife actually is the one that knows a bit more than I do. So she's done it longer, and she's actually taken a couple of or paid for a couple of outings with professionals where they actually gave some instruction. So myself, I really just kind of watched her watch videos and kind of figured it out on my own somewhat. But I wanted to kind of give you a non-professional opinion about what I'm seeing when it comes to the SAS Rage. First off, it's not loaded. But second off, I wanted to kind of talk about one of the things after storing it for the season. I noticed that the lighting in here is horrible. I noticed that the sight itself was broken, and I ended up having to put in something, wedge in a piece of paper here to hold it, because it actually broke off the piece that's holding it right in here. So I'm not sure if that's normal, if it got bumped, if something happened to it while I was storing it, but I don't know. And I'm probably just going to end up getting a new sight for it because I don't think the company is going to warranty it after a year. And honestly, I don't expect them to. I mean, it could very well have been myself just bumping it against something or getting knocked against something while I was storing it. So I'm not going to fault that against the company. The other thing I noticed is in the, and you'll see some of the video I stretch in here, the peep sight cord here that holds it, it seems to be drying out and getting a little crumbly. And I'm not sure if that's normal, if that's what happens to these things, but I mean, it does still work. When I pull back, it does stretch some. It hasn't cracked all the way through. It does hold the peep sight, but it is something that's happening, and I'm probably going to end up having to replace that. I haven't found anybody that sells just that tubing. So if any of you guys have an option or know any place that actually just sells the tubing for that, go ahead and put it in the link or put it in the comments below. Just say who it is, and I'll go look it up. But if you put in links, it'll automatically block you by YouTube. However, I'm still pretty impressed with the bow itself. I like it. I think it actually works very well. It's very consistent. It's me that's not very consistent with it. I like the arrow rest. It actually holds it quite steady, where I'm not the most steady with it. I have noticed when it comes to aiming, when it comes to sighting in, it is opposite of a rifle, and I've mentioned this before. And that's something a little bit difficult for me to get used to, because I am used to shooting rifles and pistols. The aiming thing is kind of weird how it's backwards, but you know, I'm learning it as I go. One of the other things I've noticed is when I'm drawing the string and when I'm aiming and holding, I've seen pictures of myself, and I'll put some in here. I would smack somebody if I saw somebody doing what I do with a bow with a rifle. I feel like when you're shooting a rifle, when you're shooting a pistol, and I feel like it should be the same when you're shooting a bow. You shouldn't lean back. And for some reason, I've got that going on where I've, I get, I get my aim, I get it pulled, and I get it back. And instead of leaning into it and aiming and getting a good center of gravity, for some reason I'm leaning back and I can feel myself doing it. Or I can't feel myself doing it. I see myself doing it after the fact. And that's one thing I've really got to work on, and I think I'm going to end up having to do a lot more trips to the range to figure that one out. But I found that video and pictures of my draw and my release have helped me substantially. So I think I've identified where some of my problems are, and besides, the obvious, and while I'm building up the muscle memory, I want to learn the proper stance. Now, if any of you who have done this or are much better at archery than I am, if you could go ahead and leave a comment, let me know. Is that wrong? Should I be focusing on getting that stance a little bit further forward as opposed to having the leaning back sort of thing? Am I looking at it wrong? Because I'm looking at it as far as like shooting and as far as pistols and rifles and things. Am I wrong in this? I mean, give me some feedback because I'm not 100% certain. But once again, I'm willing to learn. I want to learn this. But on the other spots of this bow, besides the sight breaking, besides the tube getting a little crunchy, I like the bow. I think it actually has got a really good pull to it. It's got a good draw. It seems consistent. Obviously, the sight being being knocked off skew, I had to take a few shots to get it back in sight. But once I did, it was pretty consistent. So that part I'm not unimpressed with. I actually like it. The thing that I did learn though recently is, and I'll show some video of me trying to pull it out. I did get some inexpensive arrows to learn with, and when it comes to what you're shooting, and these are what the arrows look like. Let's try to get it focused for you. This is what the arrows look like. See how it's got these little ridges in it? Yeah, that's not the best thing when you're shooting into hay that's a little bit moist. Myself, my kids, and I'll put some video in here of us trying to pull it out. It's ridiculous. These things got in there, the ridges got caught or were just in there, and it literally took two of us, myself and my wife, both pulling with all of our might, knee against the bale, to get these things out, and they were not in that far. So if you're going and you're trying to get these, and we tried arrow pullers, by the way, so don't even think that it wasn't us getting a good grip. We had good grip on these things. They were in there. They were in there really good. So if you're gonna go for hunting, maybe for different targets, maybe. But if you're gonna use these on hay, if they're at all wet, you're gonna have problems getting them out. And because it was the beginning of the season and everything was just melting, everything was a bit wet still. So that's how I know it was the moisture in the hay. Last year when it was dry, we didn't really have the issue with these, but when it's wet, don't do it. Just really bad. The arrows themselves are pretty solid. I did a review on these last year. These are ones I got off of Amazon. But if it's a little moist out, you want to use something a little smoother. With the other arrows that we had with us that were smooth, they didn't have the same issue. So anything with ridges, just avoid it. But what do you think? I mean, have you guys had any experience with the Amazon arrows? What is your experience with the Sas Rage? I know I'm not the only one that's purchased them. Have you guys had any good or bad issues? Is the problem I'm having with the site. Is that common? I don't know. Go ahead and leave a comment. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and follow me on my website. It's paganshooter.com. And follow me on Instagram. I've got pictures and videos I put up there on a daily basis. It's at Pagan Shooter. And this is Pagan Shooter. We'll see you next time.